Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Croydon Station. I reckon this is the happiest station in all of Sydney, due to no small part the wonderful station master here, Joe, who's a local legend. I'm very pleased to be here today with the Minister for Transport, Joe Hayland, and the Chief Executive of Sydney Trains, Matt Longland. So many people in my electorate of Strathfield rely on trains to get to and from work. So it's absolutely critical that the trains run reliably. But because of COVID and a number of other reasons, natural disasters, the maintenance program from the trains has been delayed. And you don't need us to tell you the impact that has had on the reliability of the network. So I'm really pleased to be here today for an announcement by the Minns Labor government and Joe, the Minister for Transport, about how we're going to restore reliability to the train network. Let me hand over to Joe Hayland.
Thanks so much, Jason, and it's great to be in your electorate here at Croydon this morning. When I released the Sydney Trains Review on the 22nd of May, the evidence was very clear. Our rail network in Sydney is neither reliable or resilient. Now, the fact is that we have a massive maintenance backlog. Things that should have been inspected, refurbished or replaced haven't been because crews haven't been able to get enough time to access the track. The Sydney Trains Review clearly showed that the introduction of the 2017 timetable meant that our network was stretched to its limits, and it meant that maintenance didn't occur. And so when we were hit by floods and fires, COVID and then industrial action, our network was stretched very thin. The time to act is now. We need to do this critical maintenance catch-up job because otherwise it will just get worse for passengers. Business as usual is not an option. It will only result in more cancellations and delays and a train network that's not working for people. Anyone in Sydney would tell you that the train network right now isn't working how it should. So that's why today we're at Croydon announcing that a Minns Labor government will undertake the largest ever program of rail maintenance ever seen in this city, the Sydney Rail Repair Plan. This is 12 months plus work that will occur across our network. It is an ambitious program of work that will involve thousands of workers and involve inspecting and repairing hundreds and hundreds of kilometres of rail. In fact, we will remove 1,900 high priority defects that are causing delays across our network. Now, this is the right time to do this work, firstly because we can't continue to run a system that is not working for people, but secondly because patronage has not yet recovered post the pandemic. So I would say, if not now, then when? I want to be very clear with people though. Passengers need to know that this will cause disruption. In fact, if you want to catch a train on the weekend, expect to be put on a rail replacement bus. This will not be without disruption, but doing the same thing will only get us the same result, in fact, a worse result. If we continue with business as usual, passengers will only face more delays and cancellations. I'm happy to take questions.
Which lines are likely to be most affected by this maintenance upgrade?
Well, this is a 12-month program of work that will focus on the areas of the network that have the most passengers and the most defects. So the 1,900 high priority defects are in the areas of the network that experience the most traction, the most work. So we're going to have hundreds and hundreds of workers in sections like the T1, the T2, the T4, the City Circle. These are the high priority areas of the network, and by doing that work, it will provide more resilience and reliability for passengers. Because we know if we keep doing what we're doing, passengers are only going to experience more delays and cancellations. So.
Are you going to have enough buses and drivers to take up that slack on the weekends? Because there aren't enough during the week.
We know this will not be without disruption, and I'm being really honest and upfront with passengers. This will be a challenge. We are experiencing an acute bus driver shortage across Sydney, and it's why we've launched our bus task force to deal with some of those issues. In fact, only this week I announced that the Labor government is undertaking to make it easier for people to become bus drivers, removing some of that red tape, and also launching a campaign to attract people to the industry. We are undertaking urgent measures to try and deal with the bus driver shortage, but we want to be very frank with people. When you are looking to catch a train on the weekend over the next 12 months, you need to plan ahead, look for other modes of transport and check your travel apps. There will be disruption.
So how does this disruption compare with that which happened previously? You've got that 600,000 commuter figure. How does that compare with previous years?
Look, I think the worst thing that could happen for passengers is that we proceed as usual. That will mean that there will only be more cancellations and delays. But we are doing this work on the weekends to try and minimise disruption for people. It will, of course, be done well planned in advance. People will know that it's coming up. They'll see lots of announcements. They can check the website, Transport New South Wales. They can see their station masters and station staff to know what's going on. So we want people to be well prepared. But yes, there will be hundreds of thousands of passengers affected over the next 12 months because of this track work.
Can I ask Matt a question, please?
Of course. Thanks, Matt.
Obviously, this is years in the making. Are you going to be able to get it done?
Look, I've really enjoyed spending some time here at Croydon this morning with our team. We're all behind this, the whole of Sydney Trains. We've got more than 1,000 staff every weekend that will be working over the next 12 months. We'll do our best to minimise inconvenience to customers, but the reality is we need more boots on the ground to get our track, to get our overhead wiring, and to get our signalling system up to scratch to ensure that we can run more reliable services.
So in 12 months' time, or 12 months plus, how much more reliable will the network be? What's your sort of guarantee?
So the independent review into rail reliability has delivered 12 interim recommendations. This is the first of those. And in my view, is probably the most important recommendation to get on and get this work moving, which is why we've kicked off this rail repair plan. But it's one of 12 recommendations. So we're working across the timetable. We're also looking at our incident response, but most importantly at the asset condition, dealing with a maintenance backlog from a challenging year in 2022, but also about renewing ageing assets to ensure we can deliver reliability on an old and ageing network.
Just explain the money though. It's almost $100 million. This is money that was not spent. So it's not new money. It's money that was sitting there. Is that right?
Some of this work is catching up on maintenance that hasn't been undertaken in previous years. Really, 2022 and the impacts of significant rainfall, we had whole sections of our network washed away. We had to reprioritise works. So this year it's about using some of that unspent investment in prioritising that infrastructure work, but it's also about bringing forward work so we can get ahead of the game, particularly on our signalling system, looking at train stops, track circuits. We're looking at thousands of new components that we'll replace on key sections of the network, like here on the Inner West.
You're going to have to rewrite the rail timetable next year with the introduction of the start of metro services. How disruptive is that going to be for passengers?
We'll be aiming, as we are with the rail repair plan, to balance inconvenience to customers, but also to keep essential freight moving across the rail network, which is why we're targeting weekends. And like this weekend, where we're able to, we'll keep some tracks open for services while we're doing works on other tracks.
And just in terms of the More Trains, More Services project, where's stage 2 up to?
We're doing work across transport at the moment to deliver a number of those upgrades. They're happening across the network, particularly around Central Station and Sydney Terminal, works that you see underway at the moment. They will complement the new timetable to be delivered in 2024.
And passengers got those extra 8 express services that we promised?
We're working with Transport at the moment to look at how we will roll out both the committed services but also the election commitments of the Minns Labor government to ensure we can deliver improvements to the rail network when we've got reliability restored.
You're saying that those 8 express services were never introduced, or?
We have got a number of express services that were introduced in 2017, mainly from Parramatta to the city. we will look at how we can support more express services where we're able to, but we'll also look at the balance of providing all-stop services for customers that rely on them.
And just the other thing is the new intercity train fleet. Where is that up to?
So the new intercity train is about to re-enter testing. There's been some positive discussions across Transport, New South Wales Trains and Sydney Trains to make sure we've got all of our people at the table and that we're supporting testing of the train to get it into passenger service.
And so when do you expect the first new intercity train fleet to carry passengers?
That's not something we've got a date on at the moment. I think we've got everyone at the table. So we've got all of the rail agencies, we've got Transport, we're working with the company that are bringing these trains into service, and also with unions to make sure we've got a train that we're comfortable, is safe and efficient to operate, and we can get it running for passenger services.
Do passengers expect the first to come by Christmas, or is that overly ambitious?
Look, it's not something I would speculate on at this point.
So how is this rail upgrades expected to possibly delay the rollout of the new intercity fleet train?
So the rail reliability plan is about delivering the improvements to our track, our signalling and our overhead equipment. It will create impacts for customers that travel on weekends, but it's not expected to create any particular impact on the implementation of any new train fleet.
And for the Minister, the opposition have previously blamed the backlog of maintenance on Labor and the unions. What's your response to that argument?
Well, today we're launching the Sydney Rail Repair Plan to clean up the mess left behind by the former Liberal government. The fact is that the evidence is very clear in the Sydney Trains Review, the interim report that I commissioned 3 days into becoming the Minister for Transport and received on the 12th of May and released on the 22nd of May. That report makes very clear that there are defects across our train network. This rail repair plan will be disruptive to passengers, but in the end, if we don't do this work, things will get worse. So we are cleaning up the mess left behind by the Liberal government so that eventually passengers can have faith in our rail network. I want to build a rail network that passengers want to use and that the people who run it are proud to run. Thanks so much. Thanks, Matt.